If you had told me at the start of this year that we would be seeing a new Logic project this year, I wouldn't have been very excited for a couple of reasons. I'm not even really just a couple of reasons, really for one main reason, a really obvious reason that Logic discography has definitely gotten far worse in recent times, specifically 2019. If you just told me new 2020 Logic album, I wouldn't have been very excited for it just because of the quality of both Supermarket and Confessions being easily the two weakest albums of his entire discography. If you just told me that there's a 2020 album coming out, I wouldn't be very excited. Then you add on to the fact that it's titled No Pressure and it's supposed to be a sequel to what is pretty much agreed to be his best project, Under Pressure. I'm more excited at that point. I'm still not that excited, mostly just still because of how terrible those last two albums were. But I'd still be more excited for it in the slightest bit. But then you tell me that it is his final project, and he hasn't released a single for it. He announced it 1 week before, and he's closing up his career so he can be a better father. Then you actually have my interest, and you actually have my expectation to enjoy it. Because Logic has started out Logic used to kind of be this rapper that you always thought would get really good, but then eventually as he started to become more popular, he just started to stop really caring. His first two, I haven't listened to any of his original mixtapes. I've heard they're really good, but they're available on YouTube, and I usually just listen to my albums on Spotify. I should listen to them, but I've never really gotten to the chance, and they're also pretty long for mixtapes. But that original No Pressure album is one of my favorite albums of 2014, maybe even the entire 2010s. That album is fantastic. The beats, the production, his flow over every track, the way each track builds on the personality Logic's bringing. I really like the metaphors going across it. I really enjoy that project quite a lot. And while I don't love The Incredible True Story as much, I still think it's a great storytelling album with a lot of cool themes, ideas, kind of some nice sci-fi-ish production. Both of those together make for a pretty great start to someone's career. However, Logic did not play it very well after that. Even though I do enjoy the Bobby Tarantino mixtape, it doesn't really make up for how bad Everybody was. I don't think Everybody's a terrible album. I really do enjoy some tracks on that. But overall, it felt like his attempts to recreate My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, but he fails because there's a direct theme with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. There is almost no theme on Everybody. The theme is supposed to be it's about everybody and humanity, but really it just becomes clouded and just a total mess. And the album, rather than being about everybody, just becomes about Logic. And then he proceeds after that just to kind of not really bring us his best. I do like Bobby Tarantino too as a mixtape. I find that album enjoyable. I definitely do feel like it is a little too long, but I enjoy quite a few tracks on it. Young Sinatra 4, well, I haven't listened to the other Young Sinatra mixtapes. I've heard it's not as good, and I've listened to Young Sinatra 4, but I don't love it. I think it doesn't have many interesting tracks, doesn't have many interesting flows on it. It definitely has, I'm swiping this away, this notification that's hovering on my screen. It definitely has some cool beats, some really nice rapping, but overall the lyrics and the general just production are weak. And my favorite track on the album is only my favorite because it has Wu-Tang on it. But then 2019 came, and he just killed his entire career. He brought a Supermarket, one of the worst albums I heard that entire year. Terrible production. Sirens stopped going off. The overall just sound of the album was annoying as hell. I hated every song on it. Confessions honestly wasn't as terrible, but it's still a pretty freaking terrible album. The lyrics are awful across the entire thing. Most of the tracks end up being just forgettable or cringy. I found the album pretty hateable, honestly. I do like tracks like the title track, and I do enjoy the Homicide song with Eminem. I just find the entire album incredibly underwhelming. And his worst album, because Supermarket's a soundtrack to a book or something. But now we have No Pressure. I was really excited for this, not just because me being somebody who loves the original Under Pressure, but also because I'm somebody who has wanted Logic to go back to that for a very long time. That's what I think he should be doing. He shouldn't be doing what he's trying to do on Confessions. Like, he should be trying to go back to those styles. And I think it's good that he's going back and using it as a way to end his career. Because I think Logic recognizes two things. One, if you've listened to his music, you know he didn't have the best childhood. So it makes sense that he's thinking right now, I want to be a better father, I need to be dedicated, I can't be a musician and a father and be successful, I need to do it. Well, some artists have succeeded to do that. I think Logic just wants to be a great dad. And I totally respect that. That is a really amazing move on his part. But also, I think another reason why he feels like he should retire is because I don't really feel like Logic is as artistically into it as he was years ago. I don't really feel like he's as into the raw style, his flows, his lyrics. seems like he's just kind of everywhere almost. Like, The Confessions is such an aimless album, but this album I had excitement for, and also we didn't hear any tracks prior to it, which I never listened to snippets of tracks or anything. I just listened to the officially released singles because I like to hear the song in its full. But I was really excited to hear this, and I was really cool when I saw the soundtrack, including songs like Soul Food 2 and Growing Pains 4. Like, come on, that's great. I was actually expecting that the track No Pressure would be 9 minutes, but also I know that maybe he shouldn't do some sequel to the actual song Under Pressure, which is one of my favorite rap songs, honestly. That song's amazing. But I know he shouldn't be doing a sequel to it. And overall, I was just interested to hear this project. I was actually originally intending to review Donda, the new Kanye album, today, but it hasn't dropped yet, and I don't know if it will, so I may have to wait a week or so. But I decided, okay, if Donda doesn't drop today, then I'll review No Pressure. And Donda didn't drop, so I'm reviewing No Pressure. The album opens up with the intro track No Pressure, which, while it doesn't have a hook, it does have that same Under Pressure sound in the beat. I quite enjoy it. I think it has really great flow, really vicious lyrics, really hard hitting. It's a great way to open up the album, and I also love, I knew this was going to happen. I love the way, A, there's no features on this album, because that is something the original Under Pressure doesn't have, unless you got the deluxe version. And B, I was happy that he was trying to emulate the sound of it, also bringing Talia back. That was a really cool thing to hear. It was cool to hear her at the end of every track. I liked that touch on the original Under Pressure, because that kind of lets you learn these little facts in the middle. And just being somebody who really loves the story that was told on The Incredible True Story, I just enjoy hearing more snippets of that story in this final project. It's a great intro track. Hit My Line is a really good track where he talks about God. I like the way he describes everything he does on it. It has a very much more mainstream sound to it, but I quite enjoy the beat. I think his lyrics are really solid throughout it. It's a great track, and it's a lot more upbeat almost as the previous track. Growing Pains 4 is probably, it's not the most depressing. There's some pretty darker songs on this album. Growing Pains 4 is a really nice way to sequel Growing Pains 3. I really enjoy the lyrics. I think it has a very much more down-to-earth, kind of gritty sound to it about the struggling in where he was. I like the way he does reflect on that later on the album. I'll get to that later. But I do enjoy the track quite a lot. I think it has great beats. And I think at this point on the album, it's my favorite. Next, we have the track Celebration, which I will be honest is the track I enjoy. It's one of my least favorite tracks on the album. And it's not because I hate it. I still enjoy it. But I think overall the beat on it is just very overbearing. It's not really what I think this album should be sounding like. I always enjoy rap songs where they're celebrating their fame, not flexing their fame. But this feels like he's celebrating it, and it's not really over a very fun beat. It's not really anything I find very interesting. Open Mic and Aquarius III. The open mic piece of this has some of the I think has one of the best, like, most aggressive flows I think we've ever heard on a recent Logic project, at least. And I really enjoy the Aquarius III part at the end. It's still one of the not as interesting tracks, I guess, on the album, but this album has some pretty interesting tracks. Like the next one, Soul Food 2, which I'm not quite sure, but I think this is my favorite song on the entire project. And that's not just because, like, it's a Soul Food single. Soul Food's not even one of my, I mean, it's up there, but it's not, I think, even really top 3 or 4 best songs on the original Under Pressure. Those would be Gang Related, Metropolis, and the title track. But I really enjoy this. I really love this track. I think the beat is the best thus far on this project. I think his rapping and his themes are the best here. And I think the second half of this song is the part that I think is amazing, where he kind of recaps the entire story that he's been telling throughout the albums, which he just pretty much just ditched for the last 2 albums. I know he did, like, reference it at the beginning of Young Sinatra 4, but it really wasn't a continuation of it. I think that this is a great way for him to wrap up the story, to tell what's going on, how they even, like, discovered things. How basically, if you don't know, The Incredible True Story is about kind of an apocalypse world where there were that last piece of humanity is trying to get to a planet they call Paradise. I like the way he retells that, the way he builds on it. It's a really great track. I'm a little sad that the next track on this album is the only, I think, weak track, just kind of not good track, being Perfect. I need to scroll down. Wait, hold up. I think what I don't like about this song is, I think, first of all, it's like not even 2 minutes. So it pretty much ends up being really useless thematically to the entire album. I don't like the beat very much on it. I don't think it's a very interesting track. It's the only track on this album that I feel like lacks behind the rest. But after this track, I feel like the album definitely picks up from that low. Man I Is a really enjoyable track that has the same themes that he's been kind of going throughout the album. Has a really great, I love the beats on this, by the way. No ID kills the production on this. And And I think then the next track is DadBod, which I'm pretty sure will be called the best on this album, and it might be my favorite. I think this and Soul Food 2 are both so good, but this track I love because I love the way he doesn't stick to the same theme going throughout it. It's a very, very content-filled track where he talks about being a dad. He talks about him hanging out with the homies, all that stuff, going to the studio, making a beat with no ID, but then he has to go home and feed his kid, and his wife needs him to do that. But then, like, at the end, he says, what do you think? Like you want me to go back to rapping about ghetto? You want me to rap about my life? My life now is this. And he talks about him just going to the grocery store, constantly being recognized by fans, not being a jerk and saying hi to them. He has a lot of really funny bars on this. It's an enjoyable track, being from the perspective of a dad. And I quite enjoy it, honestly. I think he brings some of the best themes on this. And like the way Sean C. Pretty much said it in his tweet, this is one of the most creatively written songs, I think, of Logic's career, honestly. I think he wrote this very well. Next is 5 Hooks, which I think is possibly the most energetic song in the entire album. It has a lot of really high energy, some really grand themes to it. It's nothing big. It's not one of the best on the project, but it is a quite fun song to listen to. And overall, it does help with what the album's going for. Dark Place is one of my favorites on this album, too. I think this is one of the most honest tracks Logic has ever made, where he's talking about how he wanted to become famous. Now he's famous, and it doesn't really help. He's not really that happy being this famous. He doesn't want to just be like where he is, and he realizes all of his life he wanted to become this famous rapper, but now he realizes, wait, there's actually more to life. And I love that theme. I think giving that theme on an album is great. A to Z is a nice track too. It has a lot of energy to it. I like the way it opens. I think it's a really cute opening. Very enjoyable, very nice beat, a lot more energy to it. Then Heard 'Em Say is somewhat of the intro. I mean, there's 2 other tracks, but it ends with this is the conclusion to the No Pressure program by Talia, so whatever. Heard 'Em Say is great. It has actually a lot of, like, emotion coming from Logic, similar to Dark Place, but I think it has a little more energy and a little more excitement to it, where he continues to rap about those themes that he was talking about in Dark Place and A to Z. Then we go to Amen and Obediently Yours, which I'm counting as one track, mostly because Obediently Yours is just a 6-minute clip of, I don't even actually know who. I really don't even know who he's referencing on here, but it's an enjoyable song where he has a really nice, really great, Amen's really energetic and really fun, and it's a great way to close off the album. And then closing off with Obediently Yours with the sample talking about race and the issues going around is a great way to close up this project. Overall, as somebody who really has wanted to see a great Logic project for a very long time, I've been in this man's... Weirdly enough, I actually would honestly say Logic is one of the first rappers I really got into. I got really into rap first in 2017, and Logic was kind of one of those rappers that got me into it. Yeah, I didn't listen to Everybody back then. I only had heard the singles, like the song Everybody and Black Spider-Man. But like those 2 songs alone just got me really into what his sound was and the way he rapped, his style. I was a huge Eminem fan at the time, so Logic just built on that. And honestly, I always have wanted to hear him have another great album, another conscious album, another album where he's not lost in trying to create some grand scheme and just tries to make good freaking music. Like in all of his previous albums, he's tried to come up with this grand theme, or he doesn't really care about his lyrics, or the album just comes across as long-winded. This album only comes in about an hour. Like I mean, I don't think Confessions like overruns. It's only like 50 minutes, but like Everybody's way too long. Young Sinatra 4 is way too long. Like, my God, that album could have been 45 minutes. But this is such an enjoyable project. I think he delivered great beats, really good themes on this. It feels like his most conscious album to date. Possibly. Actually, I don't know if I want to say that because I do quite love Under Pressure, but I feel like this album is exactly the follow-up we needed to that album, and it's a great way for him to send it off. He doesn't send it off by playing himself up too much. He even says on this album he even says he's not braggadocious. That is not true if you think of the last 2 albums, but on this album, he isn't too braggadocious. He doesn't put himself too much out there. It seems like he's more focused on the lyrics, the flows, the beats. As a rapper whom seemed to have a lot of potential, but ended up just kind of falling off and not really going anywhere, Logic has delivered one of my favorite albums, I think, of 2020. This is one of the most conscious, most fun albums I think I've heard in a long time. And as somebody who loves Logic, there might be a bit of a bias there to hear him sending off his career and sending off his fans with this type of a project. But overall, No Pressure is the best album I've heard all month, most likely, and one of the better albums I think I've heard all year. This is probably top 5 for me. Overall, for the final Logic project, I'm feeling an A-, which is great because the only other Logic project I gave an A- to was the original Under Pressure. I actually think I like this more than The Incredible True Story. Well, I like the themes on that album. I think this album actually has more great tracks. I don't even really know what my favorite song on The Incredible True Story is. I think there's a lot of kind of filler tracks, but this doesn't really have much I feel like needs to be cut out. It feels like a good length, has great lyrics. Not a lot of reviews have come out yet, so I'm not really sure what the general public is going to feel about this, but overall, I quite love it. One of the better albums I think I've heard all this year. I hope maybe we'll see this in my 10 favorites of the year at the end. I don't know. How you guys feel on No Pressure? All my Logic fans there, what do you guys think on this? I don't know if somebody's going to make the comparison, because, like, I'm wearing a hat and I'm wearing glasses, which is just something Logic does, but, hey, this is a great album. What do you guys think on No Pressure? Let me know in the comment section below. I don't know what my next review will be. I'm pretty sure but it'll maybe be Donda. Depends on when that drops. It could just drop like tomorrow or something, but you might want to put it back a week. I don't know. I don't plan to review any more albums like today. I was really excited to review 2 albums, but I won't. But yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.